Welcome to Prose and Cons, a podcast by writers for writers, brought to you by Precipice Fiction. Precipice Fiction would like to acknowledge the people of the Eora and Durag nations as the original custodians and storytellers of the land this podcast was created on.
I have become death, destroyer world. How did they use that in the movie? What?
I just kept
The
thinking
first time they introduced it.
yeah, like because he's reading from the Bhagavad Gita or something. And
It was
just,
a pretty
yeah.
heavy-handed exposition,
It was-
just for
yeah.
people who don't know the quote.
I just kept thinking of that scene in The Simpsons where everyone else is like, "Do it, Bart! Say the line!" And then Bart's like, it'd be like Oppenheimer Photoshop doing. He's like, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." I just could not get that out of my head.
You're right, that was pretty heavy. And I kind of want to nod to all the memes, the very excellent memes that Oppenheimer must feel like an Avengers like movie for all the scientists of that era. And the
Yeah.
way
Oh my
that they
gosh.
introduced Einstein was like this slow reveal, like he was fucking Nick Fury or something.
I loved it. It was great, and the way they hinted at Kennedy, like it's
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah, that was fun.
Thor getting a movie, like a spin-off. Yeah, there's this guy, Kennedy
There's a
will be
young-
back. And
There's a young ranger. He goes by the name of John F. Kennedy. You should go meet him.
That guy's
Yeah.
got a story too.
That guy's got it. That's
like you
you
wouldn't
know
believe.
him. You know him, audience, don't you? Also, I'm sorry for the Lord of the Rings fans out there. I know that's a hot topic line. I don't agree with it either. I didn't like the Hobbit movies. Just going on record saying
That's important.
that's important. Welcome to Pros and Cons. It's a podcast by emerging writers for emerging writers because sometimes we feel like pros. Sorry. Sometimes,
And what's the other thing we feel, Phoenix?
sometimes we just feel like absolute cons. Sometimes those moments are too close to the present. Anyway, we're here. I've got Alex, Allie,
Hey.
Matan,
Hey.
and myself just firing through rapid.
oh, hello.
And we're here to give you Barbenheimer, the combination you've all been waiting for. You've seen
Woo.
Barbie, you've seen Oppenheimer, and you probably thought these are distinctly separate pieces of work. There's no way they can be brought together in any sort of way. But here we are, Barbenheimer. This Frankenstein is coming at you hot. I'm not gonna lie, a through line is very hard to find between these two movies.
And that's lovingly the point. I think that's why
That's
the
the point.
internet embraced it.
Mhm.
Yeah, contrast is beautiful.
Yeah.
10 years from now, marketing teams are going to study this, and they're going to be just befuddled as to how the
Mhm.
hell this worked.
That was one thing I appreciated about the Barbie people. I was like, they knew what they were doing for marketing. Like they nailed it very hard.
Oh yeah. I'm wondering
Yeah.
if their marketing budget was bigger than the film budget, honestly, or if they were competitive. So I'm going to ask just quickly, did anyone else cosplay to their, or how did you watch it? Was it a double feature? Because Nathan and I, we double featured it the same day. We
Oh, wow.
cosplayed. I
Wow.
dressed up as Cillian Murphy. Nathan went as
Aw.
Barbie. It was great.
Mm.
That is cool.
I didn't have pink, but I did wear an all red sort of situation, very bright
Nice.
and vibrant.
Nice.
Cool.
Mhm.
I did not wear pink on the outside.
Ah, there you go.
Liz dressed up in a little. My girlfriend dressed up in a little cream outfit. The little like, I don't know, peachy. It was kind of doing the spectrum between like pink and orange kind of vibes. So it was very Barbie.
Mhm.
I didn't. I just wore jeans and this shirt and a
This
little like
very
denim
own
jacket.
shirt.
So, yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Alex, did you see the movie right now?
I saw
Did
that
you just see
movie
the movie?
literally about an hour and a half ago. I saw Barbie.
Wow, that's
Perfect.
that's
Wow.
commitment.
It's fresh. I'm fresh.
That's why you wore jeans and that shirt because you
I was
just came
I was
from it.
thinking, man, imagine if you said no. I watched it yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that would be uncomfortable for everyone. Yeah, this is as close as I have in my wardrobe to pink. It's kind of closer to a salmon, but hard times call for hard men. So
You're forgiven. We'll forgive you for the salmon. Salmon fits.
yeah, I think so. It's on the spectrum of pink.
Mhm.
Not unlike myself.
Anyway, before we go into the deep stuff, the full Precipice analysis here, we will go around with the usual question first and just see what everyone's up to. Matan, we'll start with you. What have you been up
Would
to?
it would it be cheating to say I watched Barbie and Oppenheimer?
No,
Yes,
no.
that is cheating. No,
Someone
that,
had to make
that was
that
the
joke,
homework.
Matan, so-
That
was
goes
the
without
homework.
saying.
Yeah.
I watched Barbie. I watched Oppenheimer. I watched it yesterday. What else have I been watching? I'm still reading Hilary Mantel's delightful Mirror and the Light. I love it.
Delightful.
I love it. I mean, it's not
that the
delightful. My
word?
stomach twists as I read the shenanigans of King Henry VIII. But that out of the way, do you know how sometimes you just stumble across a good Netflix film that you just haven't heard about? Just a promo actually convinces you that you're gonna watch it. So I have a soft spot for Denzel Washington, like a serious soft spot. Like I'm very soft for Denzel. But so we watched the movie Flight. I don't know if anyone's watched it. It's
Mm-mm.
the story of this pilot on a civil airline, and shit hits the fan. The plane starts falling apart midair, and then through his heroics, like absolute freaking, he somersaults through the air. He saves the plane. Only 6 people out of the 102 die. Great success, right? Only there's a protocol that
Not
every time something
bad.
like this happens,
Not perfect, but not bad.
there's a protocol that basically they take blood tests out of everyone involved. And the guy was coked out of his mind. He had like 3 bottles of mini vodkas, the ones they have on
Oh,
plane.
wow.
Apparently he's a raging alcoholic, like has been drunk every day that he can remember. His wife divorced him, his son doesn't talk to him. And then they're like, yeah, you saved everyone, but you did pilot a plane drunk and high. And it's really a movie about alcoholism, and I didn't expect it. And God, every time he reached for a drink, I felt like someone was stomping on my toes. It was presented so well. Like, please don't drink it. Please. I was just whining on the couch, like begging the poor man to stop drinking himself into oblivion, which I think shows that first, the acting was terrific. Second, they really make you care that the guy can't stop because he keeps messing up his life again and again and again. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but really nice surprise find on Netflix.
Very cool. Flight, what's it called?
Flight, yeah, with Denzel Washington. So
Right.
if you have a
Ellie, how about yourself?
As well as the 2 movies we went and saw for homework, I've actually had 2 weeks off work for once. Yeah, went and got married. But aside from that, the exciting bit was, yes, we had time to go and see like 4 movies, just like during the day in a quiet little cinema up on the Sunshine Coast. So we also saw the new Indiana Jones and the new Mission Impossible, pretty much back to back as well.
Wow.
legacy movies.
Yeah, big movie weekend.
And no, it was really, if I had to compare them, since the spirit is kind of comparing and contrasting movies, I probably enjoyed Mission Impossible more than the Indiana Jones. And it was funny watching them so close together, because I'm like, structurally, that was kind of the same movie. Like they're aiming for the same tones and emotion, and yeah, and again, just kind of structure of how they set up the whole thing. Different set pieces, obviously different context, but I'm like, I just watched the same movie again. And I would say, yeah, Mission Impossible's probably the tighter script, slightly tighter, well done. I couldn't dissect maybe if the Indiana Jones suffered from too many cooks in the kitchen, or maybe wasn't in the oven long enough, where the Mission Impossible script, just, even though its theme was very simple, it was about friendship, it just did it a bit, it wanted to land that in a slightly tighter way. So I'm like, look, no, I'm going to give that props. Well done, Mission Impossible.
Right on. Mission
Nice.
Possible.
Accomplished.
Shame on you.
Yeah, sorry. Alex, how about yourself?
Yeah. So I just bought a game. I've been listening to a lot of a podcast just about gaming and gaming theory and stuff and criticism. And I heard about this game. It's very popular a couple of years ago called Hades, and I bought that. Funnily enough, got it from New Zealand because it was cheaper to ship it from New Zealand as a physical copy than it would have been to buy it online. So that's
That's really
21st
broken.
century economics.
How?
Wow.
Yeah, but I've been playing through that. Really interesting way of telling a story. Like basically it's a roguelike, which means you go through and you do a run, then you die and you go through and do it again, and each time you get a bit further and you get more skills and all that sort of stuff. So dying is really cooked into the thing. I'm writing a similar sort of themed story right now, so that's fun. It's set in Hades and in it's like Greek god set pieces stuff. And the way the story is told is really interesting because each time you die, each of the characters, and there are a lot of like Greek gods and heroes and things, they have something new to say, so you discover more and more about this world and the story and what's going on as it sort of goes. So yeah, that's a really fun, addictive experience with like a pretty good story as well so far. So yeah, I've been doing that.
That sounds very cool. What style of gameplay is it? Like what
It's sort of like really fast-paced Diablo 2. Like it's an isometric, so you look down and you little guys on a screen. He dashes around and he like stabs people, and you got a bunch of abilities and stuff. But yeah, the roguelike is I think the technical term for it. But yeah.
That's very cool. I feel like that's the type of game I could play for a very long time at like a sleepover or something.
Very addictive. Very
yeah.
addictive.
Right on. I myself have I just finished listening to Jade City by Fonda Lee.
Yay! Nice.
That was
One
an
down,
excellent
4 to
ride.
go.
Yeah. Some other homework.
No spoilers, because we're going to
yeah.
talk about that one in an episode coming up.
Yeah. Especially with audiobooks, I feel like the characters, especially with the actors and stuff and actresses, they really just bring those people to life so much to the point where it's almost like I like miss the characters. I'm like, oh, like I felt so connected to them. And sometimes it's this weird moment where you sit down to like, I would sit down to watch something with my partner, and part of me would feel like, yeah, and now we're going to keep watching Jade City because that's what, oh no, that's not what we're watching. That's what I'm listening to while I'm getting ready for the day. Blah, blah, blah. I've now just recently picked Invisible Man back up, which is just because I listened to half of that and then now I'm listening to the other half of it. And that's just such an intense book. But it's so incredibly well written, and the performance, like I found myself recently thinking like, how much of this is the book and how much of this is the performance? Obviously it's both, but the performance is so incredible. The guy that reads this, I've found myself wondering like how much of because he adds these little laughs and he adds these little like pauses and these little like kind of nothing words here and there, and I'm wondering like, I wonder how much of these are actually physically written into the book and how much of this is just the actor adding to the characters. It's incredible.
Is that the H.G. Wells?
No, it's by Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man, read by Joe Morton. And yeah, Joe Morton kills it. Incredible job. And very, very amazing read. Young African-American man being brought up in the South in like early 1900s, and just the journey of pulling the veil of the subtle, non-spoken about racism but it's like conditioned as normal life, and it's him kind of coming out of this veil, and it's just so palpably told. It's crazy.
Who could have been the lead in that movie? Just saying.
Best boy.
Best boy Denzel Washington.
Denzel, baby.
Our boy DW.
Anyway, speaking of DW, no, honestly, that just made me think of Arthur and his sister, DW. All right, with that, it's time. It's time to bridge the subject. Which should we start? Does anybody have a preference?
I want to talk about that actually. The kind of the double feature idea. I think all of the rest of you saw it on different days though, but I'd be interested to see which one you saw first and why, and which one you saw second. And if you ended up following through with the order to get the ball rolling. So Nathan and I were going to we knew we wanted to double feature it, see it on the same day.
Wow.
And initially we're like, well, maybe we
Ballsy.
should do Oppenheimer first and then do Barbie in the evening, because that seemed like, you wake up, go have a
Get
whiskey,
depressed.
a cigarette for breakfast, then go and watch Oppenheimer, and then maybe go and have like a cocktail for lunch, then go watch Barbie, then go dancing. And we're like, that seems like the right mood for a day.
That feels nice.
But then when we were looking at session times, it was just going to work out better to see Barbie first, then straight into Oppenheimer. So we're like, that's maybe not the right energy, but look, let's commit. And then after seeing them in that order, I completely ate my words, and I'm like, no, I actually think that was the correct order to see it. Barbie first, then Oppenheimer. So let me throw that to you guys. What order did you see them in?
I saw Barbie, and a week later, me and my wife went to see Oppenheimer. And I gotta say, I can't imagine watching Oppenheimer and on the same day feeling anything while sitting through Barbie. Like I would just
if you do Oppenheimer first,
empty gaze, looking at the Ken jokes and be like, none of this matters. We're on the clock. And I'm so happy I got to watch Barbie without being tainted by the notion of impending apocalyptic doom. Yeah. But I do think I have this theory, since I believe there's a lot of couples that want to watch this, like Barbie for the girl, but I actually like Barbie more, but we'll get to that later. And since I think the balance of power would be that the girlfriend would decide what we watch first, at least that was the case here. So I think a lot of them went to see Barbie first, but that could just be me.
I saw Oppenheimer with my friend, actually. Not my girlfriend, a different friend. His name's Jackson. He's a lovely guy. We're in a band together. Sorry, that's
shout out to Fred.
Great guy.
It's a strange place to pause. Anyway, so we went and saw that, and that was good. That was a fun time. Actually, that's not the right word for it, but it was definitely a time. And then I saw Barbie later, and like a week later, probably the inverse of what you did, Matan. And I think that was the right move. I was happy to see Oppenheimer, process that, and then see Barbie, and clearly have not processed that yet because it was minutes ago, technically.
Still raw.
Yeah, it's still pretty.
But it's good raw. It's the best raw.
Yeah, it is.
It's
so,
still.
I was happy with that programming, I think. Yeah.
I did the same as you, Matan. Me and my partner saw Barbie last week, and then I saw Oppenheimer by myself this week, and literally hours ago as well. And I think I'm also happy with that order. Then again, you know what? Maybe I'm not. Barbie feels like it would have been a nice palate cleanser to then go back out into the world. Then again, Oppenheimer was really like, we'll get into this more later, but like cinematically more satisfying. So in that sense, for me anyway, in that sense, it was kind of like, I don't know, I felt like I ate something very wholesome and dense.
Yeah, I'll rip the controversial Band-Aid off then to get the ball rolling, and everyone can argue. So watching them back to back, and then I've come away and I'm like, Barbie was great, grinning like an idiot the whole time, had so much fun. Then we saw Oppenheimer, and my reaction was, well, that's a movie though. They just seemed there was so much more to it. And I was trying to articulate what I mean when I say that. And I think it was just the gaps where the audience is intellectually invited in to engage with the medium. Like that's the cinema experience. That's why I love movies. And that's what Oppenheimer was doing. Obviously, Barbie's a different demographic. But it is just the style of media we get these days, where you're a little bit more spoon-fed everything. So it was that was just so clear to me, one after the other, where I'm like, Barbie was fun, but Oppenheimer just had so much more depth. My soul was just fed going through that experience. So that's my controversial take of, if someone asks me which is your favorite one, I'm gonna say Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'm gonna just completely disagree with that. Like just polar opposites. And I think I think Barbie, as sort of Margot Robbie said in an interview, I think Barbie was designed to be consumed on multiple levels, and I could see if you would like there is a portion of it that's a kids movie for sure. I'd say like the bottom maybe 30%, like most of that's going over the top of it. Look, we'll break down why I think that's there. Obviously, there's a lot of different layers that can be viewed on, or maybe not. Ali, maybe you thought it was more homogeneous. Oppenheimer was long. It was a long movie. It was a big, long movie. There is a lot in it to digest. Time-wise, there is a lot of movie. Did there need to be that much movie? Up for discussion. I thought they were both very good. I do want to say I didn't think they were both very good movies. But yeah, for me, Barbie was far and away the winner by about by
Are we voting?
Votes?
We're just
I wasn't ready for a vote.
Get the opinions out there.
Yeah,
I was gonna be a fence sitter on this one. Look, I loved Barbie. I enjoyed Barbie. I really enjoyed watching it. I could watch it again tomorrow and be like, yeah, sure, I'll watch Barbie again with you. Why not? I just watched Oppenheimer like a few hours ago, went to sleep, woke up, made a coffee, and here I am with you guys. On a cinematic level, I loved it. It was incredible. I loved the sound editing was so freaking good. How they create this momentum. The editing in general, like how many times you watch a movie, you're like, man, the editor freaking killed it.
Yeah.
But you do feel that when the way they edit like these shortcuts of, like building tension, and it's just guys in suits in an office, but they build it up. You feel the consequences coming. With that being said, I absolutely 110% agree with Alex that at 3 hours, it was a movie for the cinephiles. It was a movie for the people that are all about movies and would not mind one bit that it's 3 hours. I almost think that like 20 minutes could have gone without any big blow to momentum pacing. But if you had to ask me which 20 minutes, I would just start I would just start stuttering and have no good answer for you. So that's me.
I'm sitting on the fence as well, but it's a decisive fence, because the decision I actually came to was that I think both movies are great. I also think both movies are kind of not so great. Like there were things that fundamentally I did not like about both. And it's actually like a density thing. I actually didn't think Barbie filled the time too well, and it felt like there wasn't too much to bite onto plot-wise. And I actually didn't think it was much of a story to be told, more of like a device to tell, which, I mean, this is kind of the definition of a story, but I felt it more with Barbie that was more just like a device to deliver a message which I thought was great and satisfying. And I felt very satisfied in the movie. I had a great time, but I didn't leave feeling like I watched a movie. I felt more like that was a cool experiment they did, and I liked their metaphor that they created. But I found myself a little bit bored in the middle. There was a part where I was just kind of like, we're just kind of dragging through a little bit. Oppenheimer was the exact opposite. 3 hours, incredibly dense. I was so focused and still felt like I was on the outside of the conversation at times. There were so many characters introduced so fast. There was a lot going on, and I had a hard time holding on to it. So it was like a density thing for me. Barbie felt not so dense. Oppenheimer felt almost too dense. One thing I will applaud Oppenheimer for, though, is that 3 hours, and I didn't feel the 3 hours go by, even though it was like 3 hours of like a solid wall of dialogue. I did not really feel the 3 hours. So they did something that's a tick for me.
Yeah, no, like I can agree that I like Matan's question of, did it earn its 3 hours? And you're like, maybe you could have cut it, but then you're like, oh, but what do you cut? But in saying that, those 3 hours went quicker for me than the Indiana Jones movie did. And with that still being quite fresh in my brain, I was literally getting restless in the cinema at some parts in Indiana Jones. And that's not something I do often. I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I had an instinct to reach for my phone just then. Yeah. That's a weird thing to do. And I'm in the movie. And I'm like, come on, movie, be more movie. Get me on board, Indiana Jones. While Oppenheimer can still be 3 hours, and that it went so fast for me. I love that feeling.
It certainly wasn't devoid of content. Like everything that was in there was. I mean, look, I think the female characters didn't really get much of a showing, or were even really necessary. So there's half an hour that might have. Anyway,
Are we talking about Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Yeah, Barbie, of course. No,
I just wanted to be sure because Ken was great.
He was very good. But look, what was in there was definitely, like all the stuff literally about the bomb. Maybe around the end where they started the wrap up and Robert Downey Jr.'s character started ranting. I was a bit like, okay, well, but that might have just been my fatigue.
No, I agree. I kind of walked out of both being like, why have we forgotten how to write third acts? Because both Act 3 in Barbie and Oppenheimer for me were not that satisfying. I feel like Barbie's Act 1 was perfection. Don't touch it. Perfect Act 1. Act 2, it was fun, but like a little bit messy in places. And then I'm like, Act 3 was like embarrassing. If I was to like read that script. Anyway, that was a hard take. And then Oppenheimer, I would be like, oh yeah, Act 1, we're building, we're going somewhere. And then I would argue maybe Act 2 was really strong in Oppenheimer. And then again, Act 3 was a bit of a mess.
Good analysis. Yeah, I agree with that one. Oppenheimer, the middle part was so meaty and good. Everything related to the bomb is sexy and nice, and you want to see it.
Yeah, that was the set piece for sure.
Yeah. But I am just curious, what, if you had to pull one specific moment that was your favorite moment from each one, what would, Matan, we'll start with you. What would you pull?
Favorite moment from each movie.
Yes.
For Barbie, I'll have to say it's the beginning where she steps out of the shower without the water, and she has the coffee that's not a coffee, and she says hi to everyone, and everyone say hi to her. Like, it was so absurd in the best way, and I was just laughing like an idiot because of how hard the movie leans into it. Like how when Ken says his job is just beach, I lost it. I was like, how can you get away with such a simple and silly joke and still get so many laughs out of people? Because we're all so cynical. We don't expect something so wholesome to be thrown our way so simply. So yeah, I love the way Barbie started. It really set up the right tone and atmosphere for the whole movie, and I think it really earned my trust as a viewer. Like, yeah, they know what they're doing. They're on top of this. They decided. They know their identity. They're gonna lean into it, and I'm like, okay, I'm up for it. I'm here for the ride. For Oppenheimer, my favorite moment, has to be the moment that Oppenheimer accepts the job to become the director of Project Manhattan, when he has like this back and forth with Matt Damon's character. Without spoiling too much, it's really good dynamics. Like, Matt Damon comes to him and basically says to him, like, look, everybody's saying this stuff about you, like why I shouldn't hire you. And Oppenheimer justifiably asks, so why are you here? And then we kind of get this dynamics. Like, Matt Damon's like, maybe because of that I'm here, because you are standing out of the crowd. And I really like that scene.
They had a great chemistry. They had a really good chemistry on screen. That was, since I have the floor, I'd say my favorite part of the Barbie movie was the whole Ken montage where they were doing like the Normandy thing, and it was just so silly. I was literally laughing out loud the whole time. It was just ridiculous. I just thought that was so hilarious. That bit was great. I didn't think it had a terrible ironically that bit didn't have a terrible amount of plot significance, but it sort of did. It was anyway. So that was just the set piece that I really liked. I think for Oppenheimer, my favorite bit was the in the auditorium where with the foot stomping, where that finally happens, and he's doing the speech, and the whole time you think he's about to crack up, and they've foreshadowed this scene and the like the stomping, like for literally the whole movie they've done in multiple bits, and then it comes in and you're just like, is he gonna lose it? Is he just gonna break down? And he doesn't. He just delivers a speech and he's like, yeah, we did it, congratulations. And I just thought that was such an uncomfortable and powerful way to present that moment. So I really thought that was good. I mean, the bomb itself was really cool as well, especially how they like made you wait for the thing. I was sitting there with my hands over my ears because I hate loud noises. But yeah, no, that bit I think was the emotional core of the movie to me, I think.
Yeah, no, I'll jump on because I was going to name the speech scene as well. Because it was just so brilliantly tense, the lead up that you're describing, and then some of the lines he delivers, which would have been what he actually said, which come across as like, I don't know, like really just callous. By today's standards, you're like, oh, he actually said that shit. And so that juxtaposition, you use the word uncomfortable, and it was just perfectly uncomfortable. And then the special effects of their faces melting, and then stepping on the ashed corpse, which is as close as the movie can get as an imagined POV. Because I love the POV choice that we're with him almost the entire movie, except when we're with Robert Downey Jr. So obviously we don't get visual context, we don't get lived experience of Japan or anything there, because this is a character that obviously never went to Japan. So he's got to reconcile with what's happened out there with something he'll never see, something he can only imagine through facts and figures and newspapers. And I just actually kind of loved that. That hit so hard for me. And the other scene I think I really loved right at the start was the apple and the syringe and the cyanide.
Oh my gosh.
The choice that he does
shocked.
it. And then the scene where he's got to talk to this guy he respects and find a moment to get the apple out of his hand was, I just thought, brilliantly directed, brilliant tension. And it kind of, for me, just then sets the tone for the rest of the 3 hours, because you're like, this guy is, he's smart, but he's, he does it like that. Just sets up the character tone so well. And then thinking of Barbie, it's actually harder for me to pick exact moments I like for Barbie. And I think that's why I'm like, Oppenheimer for me was a series of very clear scenes I imagine and I'm there suddenly, while Barbie's more of just a wash of laughing the whole time, a wash of funny little quick moments, that it's hard for me to pick an exact scene or moment, because it was just a montage of fun. Anytime Ryan Gosling on screen, I adored. That man was perfect. His meta performance with all the marketing around the movie was almost as entertaining as the movie to me. So just love Ryan Gosling. But then I'm also sitting here asking myself, what does it mean for feminism that Ryan Gosling was my favorite part of the Barbie movie? And I feel like that's an interesting question. But so yeah, I'm just going to say Ryan Gosling.
As a moment, yeah. He was kind of the bad guy, though, in fairness. Like,
he was the only character that had any genuine change, conflict, and therefore was of interest to me. I don't think here we go, hot take. I just don't think there was enough depth to anything else that was happening that could get its hooks in me, while I'm like, Ken is fascinating. He's on an interesting, complex journey. I want more of that.
I mean, I do think he has more of a journey.
Yeah.
But I felt satisfied with Barbie. I mean, going through the existential stuff. It was less overt. It was less on the outside, because she wasn't trying to make a Mojo Dojo house and reinstall the patriarchy in magical Barbie land.
Horses.
Structurally,
I loved how horses were plugged into that.
I love the horses. Oh my god,
the horse
so
it
good.
made me want to have a horse portrait in my room.
Once I found out it wasn't about horses, I honestly wasn't interested anymore.
I got lost in stuff about horses.
Probably one of
With
my
that being
favorites.
said, we shouldn't just check Barbie sales. We should check horses, sales, whatever.
Yeah.
Horse
Sales of
popularity
ponies
on
up
Google
50%.
search engines. But back to my point. I like that Barbie's journey was different. Not all journeys are a hero's journey where you go and there's something to see and an action. Barbie's journey was on the inside, because on the outside she was already perfect. Now it was time for her to go through the feelings of what it means to accept not being perfect. And it wasn't just that, it was also her job to help her world see the things that she recognizes very early. Because the movie starts when Barbie recognizes or is forced things the realization is forced upon her by the mom playing with her that like we're all gonna die and maybe my feet are not supposed to be permanently heel shaped. I liked it. I did think she did have a process.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying. I come from a. It's interesting thinking about it intellectually, though. As writers, would we argue though that shouldn't the protagonist have the most dynamic journey, and that's how we
Knight.
It's that thing where a secondary character suddenly becomes more interesting to us when we're writing and suddenly want to chase them. And that's like a writing problem for us where we're like, oh no, suddenly my protagonist is boring. Like we would see that as a problem we would try to fix.
Well, I mean, that comes a lot from, I think about this all the time. I think that comes a lot from the fact that a protagonist does essentially have to be a cipher for the audience. So it has to kind of encapsulate this huge swath of things and therefore has to be kind of generic and bland. And she's literally called stereotypical Barbie. Like that's, she like, they've literally been like, look, we've just whitewashed this. The intersectionality is outside of her actual character. So just deal with that. So, but I agree. Ken is a more interesting and funny character with a more complex journey. But I feel like it was leaning less on character development per se and more on the meta subtext. And that's kind of a wanky thing to say, but also in some ways it's kind of a wanky movie. And I kind of love that about it. You know, it was very much just like you said, Matan, it was pitching it. Well, maybe it was Phoenix. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It was pitching a message. It was using a toy as a vehicle to tell a message that like, hey, you know, like there are all these expectations and you need to recognize what the world is putting on you. This is my crude hacking out its feminist message. To be able to then go and overcome it to some degree. And I think it did lean very, very hard on that meta philosophy. And yes, I think maybe some characters were subjugated to that a little bit. But I'm alright with that personally.
I just want to address the pink elephant in the room. I think a lot of guys sitting through the movies to the movie may have felt uncomfortable, but I think it was important for them to experience that. I think Barbie was very gentle.
Sure.
I think Barbie was very delicate with us. It told us the truth with silk gloves while patting us and telling us how amazing we are on the inside while we are doing these rather uncomfortable things to the other sex. And I think that Barbie could have been a movie that just focuses on, oh, girls need to feel this, girls need to feel that. But instead, and I'm saying this as a man, it chose not just to show how girls should view themselves or shouldn't, it also showed what men's part in this is. And that's the hard conversation to have, that we, like, Ken walks into our world and he's amazed at how good he has it just because he's a guy. He's done nothing. He literally just came into existence in this world. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. He's done nothing. He expects to be given the job of a doctor just because he's got he's got something. And you know what? A part of him was expecting them to give him the job. That's how messed up it is. I was like, yeah, they're gonna let him be a surgeon. And I thought that was important. I thought, that's
this is where I don't feel this is exactly what the movie was going for, but a kind of a defense for Ken being vaguely more interesting is Ken and Barbie are kind of two sides of the same character, and the actual antagonist is actually just patriarchy itself. Like the whole point was being like patriarchy equally affects both the whole range of sexes. It's not, obviously it's led by actual people that have penises and stuff, but like the whole thing was that it's destructive to the society as a whole, and it manifests in the more masculine presenting side more, or like in a more prominent way, because that's what's been driving it. But like but we both everyone suffers, and that's the whole thing it was trying to get across. And so it's really like it's showing both sides, the Barbie and the Ken journey of this, and obviously that's a very exaggerated, polarized view of it, because we are going Ken and Barbie, which is just two sides of the spectrum. But again, it's like the tool to tell the story, and you need contrast to do that. But anyway, so in the same way, you can almost look at Ken and Barbie as the same character if you want. I don't think that's what they were going for, but in a way you kind of can.
I love that reading of it, and that's probably the most generous reading you can.
It's a generous reading.
But I enjoy what you're saying. I do like that. All right, I'm gonna spit out. I've been saving my two most smallest gripes about Barbie, and I'd love you guys to pick them apart.
Yeah.
So kind of on what you're describing about Ken, Barbie, and how we do have these two contrasts. It just, I don't know, maybe this is more of a commentary on me, but I walked out of that movie being like, that's one of the most binary movies I've seen in a really long time.
Mm-mm.
And I don't actually think it did much to help the discourse of any kind of gender fluidity. It very much wanted to talk about feminism in terms of this is what girls do and this is what boys do. And I still find that stage of discourse quite constraining. And especially for me, in that there's the fun joke kind of in early act 2, where it's like, we don't have genitals. And that's funny. That's a good bit. But literally that turns out to be a setup for the very last beat of the movie, which is a joke that she's now a real woman because she has a vagina. And that's the very last taste the movie left in my mouth. And I'm kind of like maybe I'm reading that bit wrong, but that is how I read it. And I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Let me jump into that, because I thought it was a bit of a crass joke as well. But Liz, because I watched it together with my girlfriend, she had another take, and she said no, when I said, they finished on the gynecology joke, and she was like, I didn't actually read that as a joke. She literally read that as self-care, coming into womanhood, in whatever sense that is, it's growing up as a little girl, is literally about taking care of yourself. And look, I don't mean, obviously that is implied as a metaphor when it doesn't matter. So that's how she read it. I thought it was a joke at first, but I certainly would like to I think it would be more charitable to give it that interpretation.
If that's the metaphor, that's a great metaphor. I just wish they weren't using vaginas as the metaphor for women looking after themselves. Again, that just feels really confining as a message. And just for that to be the very final beat of the movie almost undermined anything else the movie was trying to say to me the entire time. I guess my walk
binary message,
and I guess my walk away from it is, if I wanted to take my 9-year-old sister or any 9-year-old kid, honestly, and be like, here, get the speed run on feminism, I'll take them to see Barbie. It's like, cool, you just want to get up to speed with all we're talking about patriarchy, we're talking about feminism, go watch Barbie, great, you're up to speed. And for me, that's what the movie does really well. I had set my hopes, I was really hyped for Barbie. No one was more excited for this movie than me. I went in with a very generous spirit, and I had hoped that maybe it was going to be a bit more intellectual than what it was. For me, it was a summary of the current discourse, if not maybe the discourse 10 years ago. I feel like I was watching media with the same message about 10 years ago. So it's a good, quick, fun, well-packaged summary, gentle package, as you described, Matan. It makes me wonder maybe even if this movie's more for men than it is for women. But for me, it didn't actually add anything new to feminist discourse. Did it have to? Did it need to? I guess not, but it was still really fun.
That's what it felt like to me, was and to me, it kind of felt, actually, I left this was an assumption on my own. I kind of left going, and now we're all ready to move on into new discourse, because it felt like a summary. And that's where it felt important to me. It was like, okay, we've summarized. To me, it was like society kind of lurching forward together, because it's like we've been having this conversation for a while. And then this was like we're going to use this Barbie vehicle to just kind of this is where we are, right? Everyone? Yes? Okay. Now let's move
It's
forward.
a roll call. Like,
Yeah.
Are we all up to speed? We all here now? Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a save point, a checkpoint for society. Like, this is where we are. Save game.
Yes, that it felt like a save point because
I
it
love
didn't
that
add
reading
anything
of it.
new.
Yeah.
And I left just like, all right, we all need to officially state that for the record. Like, we're here. Like, this is.
We're all
Yes.
nodding. We're all good. Great.
Yes, yes.
The movie says to the whole world.
And that's actually my favorite scene in the Barbie movie was the scene where it was just the no music, dry, just the full rant of like everything, the contradiction of what it meant to be a female or like a woman in this society. And like just because it was such a cathartic, well summarized thing. And I was just like, nice. You're correct. And then it was just satisfying in that way for me. So that's why I snapped after it. I was like, yeah, that was so
that felt landed that.
Yeah.
To be fair, I feel like Florence Pugh had the same version of that speech in Little Women, and I probably preferred the Little Women version of the same speech. So Greta's obviously got her one speech that I probably, if you watch the movies back to back, they happen at the same time in the movie as well. I'd be interested to dissect that.
Yeah,
right.
Wow, we should. That would be a cool thing, like to have 10 monitors and put all of the directors' movies
on at the
right
same
next
time.
to each other.
Wow.
Okay.
And see like how many beats, like how many times at the 58 mark does the villain, gain the upper hand? Just like
Yeah.
like
This
let's
is the
put
perfect
Inception,
segue.
Interstellar. Yeah.
For an Oppenheimer point I wanted to bring up. So are we ready? If we've got enough
Yes.
Barbie out of a system.
Oh, really quick.
Talking about
I just wanted to say also my favorite part in Oppenheimer was also the speech where he well, the speech afterwards, the moment where it goes silent and he's just speaking to the vacuum of the silence. I felt that so much. I was like, oh my gosh, the artistic decisions of this scene, like, this whole scene is just like a meaty movie and like on its own. It's amazing. All right. Proceed.
So this is less of a comment on Oppenheimer, but I'm gonna tell a little bit of a fun fact story that I don't know if you guys know it or if the people at home listening, but I have a feeling this will be new information. So I'm just going to read out Nolan's body of work just as a refresher, just so everyone can kind of, oh yeah, those are the movies he's made. So there's Inception, there's The Dark Knight, there's Memento, there's Dunkirk, The Prestige, Interstellar, Tenet. So just remember, that's the stuff. That's what he usually makes. And he's got a bit of a reputation. Correct me if you guys disagree, but he's like a filmmaker's filmmaker. That's his reputation as a director. He's not necessarily known as an auteur with like a message, right? He comes in, he makes like excellent blockbusters.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily movies that come in and are beating a drum about a certain message or anything. And we probably also know that, so Christopher Nolan, do you guys know his brother, Jonathan Nolan?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So you all know that Jonathan Nolan primarily works as a scriptwriter, mostly on Christopher's stuff. I think he did Westworld as some credits outside of Chris, but he doesn't have too many credits outside of Chris. They primarily work together. Now, my fun fact is, did you guys know that there is a third Nolan brother?
Ooh.
Oh my
What?
gosh.
Okay, new information.
Is that Cillian Murphy?
Wouldn't that be a twist? Oh, but I want to say yes. Okay, put a pin in that. Wait, I'm going to bring it back at the end. Okay, there is a third Nolan brother, Matthew Nolan. He is the eldest brother. No, he does not work in film at all.
What?
So he has a bit of a spotted history in that he is wanted by the FBI, but the FBI don't have enough evidence to get anything to stick to him, and they can't get him extradited from Costa Rica, where he currently lives. And what is he wanted for? No joke, being a hitman, a paid hire for murder is what he's accused
This can't be real.
of.
Okay.
Is this real? What?
This is real. So this
But he's
is a
so
man.
famous. How do we not talk about this all the time, every
I
day?
know, right? But I've got more facts. Here we go. So he's suspected of being a hired killer. America can't get a hold of him. The investigation's like open but murky in Costa Rica. They won't hand him over to American authorities.
Okay.
And he did some prison time when he was initially kind of arrested and suspected in Costa Rica. And then he attempted a prison escape.
Oh my god.
And there's some incredible details of he was caught
Getting
with
better.
a razor, a harness, a metal clip for unpicking handcuffs, and a makeshift rope he had made of bed sheets
Oh my god.
to
Wow.
escape the prison. But then he had to serve time he got caught after his prison escape, and then he served that, and then he was released.
Wow.
So this is
Wow.
an exciting, bizarre figure. And I want you to think back through now all of Nolan's body of work, which is kind of about, criminals outside of the law, getting separated
Bizarre.
from their family, can't really reconnect with their family, and just kind of having to operate by their own rules outside of society.
Guys,
I'm
hear me
gonna
out.
tie this
Hold
back.
on, Matan. Hold on. Let her finish.
Here we
I'm
go.
gonna-
One final fact. When he was operating during the suspected murder, the false name he was working under was Matthew Oppenheimer.
Oh my god.
And there
Jesus Christ.
and boom. There it is.
Wow.
So if you
That's-
wanted to piece together why Christopher Nolan wanted to do an Oppenheimer biopic,
Is it a message? Is he trying to send a message?
Do
Like,
we-
come home?
Yeah.
Take down the
put the sheets
sheets
back in.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
Wait,
so when you
what
said
if
he's
there
his brother
is
Cillian
no-
Murphy, I'm like, wait for it. Yes.
Mm.
What if there is no Matthew? What if it's Christopher all along? Okay, hear me out. Do you guys know the movie The Other Boylan Girl?
No.
No.
The Berlin girl. Oh, right.
Oh,
The
yep,
Other
yep.
Boleyn Girl. I'm sorry, Boleyn. The Other Boleyn Girl. The Other Nolan. That's a movie that's
The
gonna
other
get
Nolan.
Well, that's what I was
It'll
gonna
get made for
say.
sure.
Matthew
the
is
third
involved.
Nolan.
Matthew is in the movie business. He makes the stories, and then and then his youngest brother,
And
makes
then
the
Jonathan
scripts.
writes them. And then
He
Yeah.
lives them.
They had a meeting when they were very young, and they're like, one of us, we're beating around the bush. One of us is gonna have a very difficult job. And then Matthew stepped up.
they rolled for it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
fascinating, isn't it?
That's
So
wild.
now you kind of have to look at Nolan and be like, wow, he actually does have an axe to grind. That's what all these movies are about.
Wow.
Insane. That's so crazy. Discourse derailed. Sorry, go on.
I'm
But no, that was good. I have a fun game for us. It's a pseudo game. It's actually just a mental exercise. So when I saw Oppenheimer last night, afterwards, I was just trying to find. I was just holding both movies in my mind at once and just seeing what kind of happened. And I was just thinking, obviously, these were two stories. They were told the way they were told because they were it was chosen that they, the people that told the stories decide to tell them that way, but they're not inherently supposed to be told any particular way. The only thing that is solid about them is that there is a story that happened. And then as writers, as filmmakers, you have a certain toolbox and you decide what tools you want to use to get that story across. But there's nothing stopping Barbie being told in the same format that Oppenheimer was told, not as a comedy, and instead with a fully different tone and all that, as well as you could tell Oppenheimer in the same format as Barbie if you wanted to. You can make it a comedy, you can make it bright, colorful, you could do whatever you want. You could tell the same story that way. So I thought it'd be a fun exercise to see, really feel it, really think into it. Do you think you could tell effectively one story in the other's format? And thinking on that, do you think one would work better than the other in the other's format? I can start personally. I think Oppenheimer could be a comedy if you wanted it to be, and I think that that's the one that I think would work best. Barbie and the other,
That's
I don't
my
think would work
instinct.
as much. Yeah.
Yep. As you're talking, I'm like, I can see Oppenheimer being told with the same color palette, same tone, I mean, there was a lot of comedy. Like, think of like oh my God, I can't think of it. Dr. Strangelove. Like that era of dark comedy, but really dry comedy, assessing what were these politicians and what was the military doing at this time to do something just so world changing, and they were using comedy as the tool to grapple with that and how absurd that was. So 100% I can see absurd dry humor being used to tell the same Oppenheimer message. I'm there, and I'm even picturing the same set special effects that Greta used, where it's like the matte paintings of Barbie, like, you know, this the montage where they're on the boat and they're in the spaceship, but that's just a bomb you drop on Japan. Like it's there, I can see it.
Wow. Look, it would be so insensitive to do Oppenheimer with a bunch of pink happy colors, you know, and half of Japan is burning. But that would be very Japanese,
really
ironically.
bleak.
With that being said, let me be the Barbie's advocate here, and just imagine Barbie, a dark, grim. Zack Snyder is the director. Dystopia. She discovers that she's a toy. But more than that, her spurned lover is going to take away everything that she loved. But it's just probably going to end up with her beheading Ken rather than, talking sense
now
into him.
Tarantino. Yeah.
Wow.
Kill Ken.
Whoa,
Kill Ken instead of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
But that's not Oppenheimer. We need to do
you'd
Oppenheimer.
No, true.
You'd have to get the time stuff into it. So it would have to start something like Barbie, like in the real world, going through a thing, and then she sees a little girl playing with a Barbie doll, and she's like, and takes her back to the thing. You'd have to jump around a lot. Like I can see that.
I can see that. I like that.
Tonally.
Maybe
hard.
it starts.
I don't know.
It starts with Barbie in the conference room, and they're like questioning her. So like, where's Ken? What did you do to him?
Okay, no, you tell it as a tragedy. Okay, so swap out the metaphor of the bomb for patriarchy being introduced to her world and destroying her world. So she has to grapple with the role she played in destroying Barbie land with patriarchy.
The mother of oversized Mojo Dojo babies. Yeah. She's I'm going to see Barbie. I'm going to see the new Barbie.
By Christopher Nolan.
It's Zack Snyder, but
written by Zack Snyder, exactly.
Release the Nolan version.
Did you hear that little dig they got in about Zack Snyder?
I loved it.
It was like, you have to.
Warner Brothers is still dirty. They can't let it go. They'll never let it go.
I've seen some reviews of people like just reviewing the Barbie movie, and like it was a thing on TikTok, and it's got all 1 stars and be like, this is terrible. This is like baby's first feminism, blah, 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 patriarchy, blah, blah. Like but then every single one of them, like, because it's done on Letterboxd, every single one of them's like top film is The Godfather. It's so funny just watching every single one. Like it does like 10 different people. They're all like half-star reviews, and every single one's their favorite movie is The Godfather.
My gosh!
Wow.
Fury. Amazing.
You can appreciate both. I don't think
Godfather's a great movie.
There's nothing wrong with
it. It's just very film bro-y, like it's fine. It's a great movie for like, and like
The Godfather.
And then the Prestige is in there, and like
it's not a great movie, Alex. It's not a great movie. It is
what The Godfather.
It is the movie. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of people argue Godfather 2. Not me, but
no, Godfather 1 kills it.
I agree.
It has a plot.
Yeah.
I actually left Barbie thinking I gotta watch Godfather. I've never seen it. So
you should. It's good.
I gotta watch this. But anyway, I think we've fully Barbenheimed. So we're gonna close it down. And now we need to find a quote.
Oh no.
Okay, I got a quote. I'm making this one up. It's a collaboration quote between me and popular culture. And it reads, "I'm a Barbie girl, destroyer of worlds."
Nice.
That's pretty good. Thanks for listening, guys. As you know, we are always trying to find more people, to listen to what we're doing. That's what a podcast basically is. It's like, hey, we're doing some stuff. You can listen to it, find it. Sorry, I got a splitting migraine coming in. So you look, we'd really appreciate if you could leave a review for us on your respective podcast platform. It just really helps us get some eyeballs on there and get some more people to come and check out what we do.
How else are they going to learn about the third Nolan brother?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a third Nolan brother?
That's amazing. Also, we do have an anthology out now that you can purchase if you'd like to. You've heard us talk about stories, and you're like, well, who are these people? What stories can they tell? Well, check out the new Mythic. It's available on Amazon, and if you have trouble finding it, just go to precipicefiction.com. We have buttons there for you to click that'll take you where you need to go, and you can check out the stories that we ourselves tell. We're available in other places too, doing other things. We all have our own stories, our own things going on in other places. You could find that information on precipicefiction.com as well. But yeah, check it out. Thanks for listening. It's been great. It's been real. It's been Barbenheimer. And with that, we're going to leave now. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Prose and Cons, the Precipice Fiction podcast.
Record it.
Do that again.
Go on.
It's recording.
Here's my bit. So the thesis of the Barbie movie is basically that feminism being a woman, it's the ability to be whatever you want. That's what the current wave of feminism is about. Capiche, capiche. And so, but with this, Barbie, she's come through this. She's like, yeah, I can be a president, I can be a doctor, but that's Barbie. But she's figuring out, who is Barbara? What am I? So at the end, you're like, oh, is she going to like a job interview? Is she gonna rent a house? What's her deal? And then she goes in, it's the gynecologist thing. And you're like, oh, that's a little weird. I didn't expect that. It subverts expectations for a few reasons. Because one, she's figuring out who she is at the basis level. She doesn't know. Stop. She doesn't know what job she wants. She's just figuring it out. And for a lot of women, one of the first steps into womanhood is going to the gynecologist. And so to have people say like, hey, I'm proud of you for doing this, and her to proudly say in the camera, I'm going to the gynecologist. Fucking good for her. For a lot of women, that is a part of their growing up. That's a part of their becoming a woman. And of course, there's plenty of women that don't, have to deal with that sort of thing. And I'm sure with Alan and Weird Barbie and Earring Magic Ken, there's little bits of what it means to not fit into the binary. But I think for that, that's a bold way to end it off. That proudly says there's any way to be a woman, and there's nothing wrong with being a feminine fucking woman.
Yeah, as opposed to a job or a high-powered thing or a husband or something.
It's the first steps of figuring out who she is as Barbara. But anyway, what was I gonna? I had one other bit. And because it's Greta Gerwig, I feel confident that that's the direction she was going in. If it was Amy Schumer, who was originally supposed to do the movie in 2015, then yes, absolutely, that would have been a shitty joke. But because it's Greta Gerwig, I've seen Lady Bird, I've cried, Little Women, all that. I'm pretty sure she took the higher road on that. So anyway.
Thank you. Mic drop.
Thank you.
We have a post-credit scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Liz.
Oh my god.
That was
all right,
fantastic.
I'm gonna leave.